What's going on, everyone? Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Game Cast. I am one of your co-hosts, Kenny, and with me is Tess,
Hello, everybody.
and we are back. We are back. What is going on? Well, I'll tell you. This week has been extra interesting.
Mm.
From people in higher management doing interesting things to a lot of the chaotic nature of the internet, things
Mm-hmm.
going on overseas, to really interesting interesting talk. My week has been up and down um, because I got like new gig work. I actually started posting at a new site, and they're paying actually really
Ooh.
well.
Mm-hmm.
Things of that nature. Working with different editors from different places and whatnot is always interesting because they're different. Like the rules of how one site does things is usually is different from another. There's certain things that you don't do. Like you never plagiarize, folks. Never do that. But
Yeah.
there's some rules. There's some rules. And it can be a little tricky. It can definitely be a little tricky. Um, Interesting enough, though, within the freelance world, I had to deal with a little bit of spiciness today.
Ooh.
Someone, talking or speaking, not necessarily that they thought they were doing this, but maybe speaking in a way that I felt could be taken in a wrong way. I'll
Okay.
say it that way. I'm not saying that they're necessarily bad, but I was going to respond in an extra spicy way, and I decided not to because maybe people have bad days.
Mhm.
Also, it could be that this person was trying to, say one thing and accidentally said something else. There's ways
Uh-huh.
of just managing words and being someone that uses words for a living. I might be reading into things that might not be there. And so, my response was PG in nature and just kind of express myself and, you know, hopefully things will continue as always, or at the very least, we
Mm-hmm.
would have a better understanding. Um, but it was something to deal with. Same thing with, online discourse over silly things that don't really
Mm-hmm.
matter. You know, people talking about things they know nothing about is the funnest
Right.
thing. It's the funnest debates to get into online. People accusing you of, because you wrote something about something,
Mm-hmm.
accusing you of, being paid off because they like the game you don't like. Apparently, they were paid off.
Wow. Because,
And
opinions don't, people can't have different
right,
opinions nowadays. Yeah.
right, like that's really interesting.
Hmm.
Someone said, actually, a person I follow said that A Quiet Place is like one of the worst movies they ever seen. And you know what? I let them have it. Not let them have it as in I said something to them, but I let them have that opinion. I don't think that.
Mm-hmm.
I think A Quiet Place is pretty great. However, the reasons
Mm-hmm.
that they came up with, I thought were, oh, I could see where you could come up with that. I could see where you would get that idea, but I
Mm-hmm.
let them have it. I didn't say, oh, they really work for this company, and the director in that particular company had a falling out, so that's why they're clowning this movie right before the sequel drops. Like, no, like that doesn't,
Yeah.
because I wouldn't know. I have no proof. I have no, you know, information. I have nothing to go on. These are just assumptions. And people run with these assumptions like they're facts, and it's annoying. I guess that's what my week was annoying. I think that's
Yeah.
I guess you could say that. Like it was annoying, and it wasn't, not everything was directed at me. Some of it was directed at peers, and I spoke up here or there. Some of it was directed at me, and it's always like, man, do we have to go around this merry-go-round again? Do we have to? Can I get off this ride?
I wonder sometimes, but I feel like this ride is actually planet Earth. There's not really a way off it unless you like personally know Elon Musk. And even so, the moon and Mars bases are not ready yet. Like I've been mining all the Doge coins I can, but I still haven't made it past Mars on the game, the little
Hmm.
mining game. We can't go there yet. So I think we kind of have to stay on the ride,
Got you.
unfortunately.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
That said, I did have some good news to share. Uh,
Awesome.
so a little bit of good news. Two games came out recently that have black protagonists. and one of them I got to
Hmm.
review. Uh,
What?
this game was actually made by one developer,
Hmm.
and in terms of like graphics, art, you know, programming, all that good stuff, and a the music and soundtrack was done by produced by one person with vocals from different artists. But essentially, it's
Okay.
made by one person, and it's pretty freaking great. It's called
Oh, nice.
Aerial Knights Never Yield. I got to
Hmm.
review it for Game Skinny. They sent the code over for me to review it a
Nice.
few days before it came out, and so my review was actually it went up the day after just because I had other things happening at that time.
Hmm.
But I was able to play it, and it's really good. It's a free running game, so think Mario, but you're constantly moving to the right, and you have to avoid objects. And
Okay. So you can't just stop and stand.
right, you can't stop and stand. You have to keep going. But the game does a really good job of providing checkpoints. Um,
Hmm.
the base default, or I should say default setting that you have to clear before you can go to like the more difficult challenges slows everything down before you reach danger. So let's say you have, an obstacle in your way that's coming up. It slows the game down to allow you to give you time to press whatever direction you need to get out of the way. And what it does is it teaches you how to play. All the obstacles are color coded. So if you see like a purple obstacle, it means you have to slide under it. If you see a red one, you have to jump over, etc., etc. And it works. It works pretty well. It's a short game, about maybe an hour 30. It's supposed to be kind of like I guess, an action film, if you will.
Mm.
And the artist, or I'm sorry, the developer, um, who actually goes also by Ariel Knight. If you check him out on Twitter, is Neil Jones, but he goes by Ariel Knight on Twitter. He set out to make a game that is familiar, but also focuses on, or at least brings up aspects of certain cultures that people kind of look over in the gaming industry, which is one of the reasons why I
Mm.
wanted to check it out. So it has his character running through Detroit from all sorts of, you know, uh, enemies, drones, military group who kind of resemble the cops. I'm not sure. Um,
Oh,
and
okay.
then like some anime-esque things in there. Um, and it turned out pretty great. The soundtrack slaps. It is really freaking good. Like I sat at the
Nice.
menu screen and just listened to that like
Oh,
for a while. Like it's pretty dope. It's a hip hop jazz orchestra ensemble. It reminds me a little bit of the Seatbelts. If you don't know who they are, they did music
love the
for
seatbelt.
Cowboy Bebop. Yep. And so, yeah, check it out. It's an Aerial Knights Never Yield review, a dash of style. It is actually it's on the main page, like it's featured on the main page of GameSkinny.com. So go check that out. Another game that came out with a black protagonist. This one is a black woman actually. Is Subnautica uh, Zero, I believe it's called. Hold on, let me bring that up. Subnautica Below Zero. There you go. And what's also
Okay.
dope about this game, I did get to review it, but what's dope about this game is that not only is it a black woman who is the main character, a lot of the writing that went into this game was written by a black woman, which is pretty sweet. A
Oh,
lot of
now I
the
have to play it.
So I am definitely going to be checking that out. It was published by Bandai Namco. It
Mhm.
actually dropped uh, earlier no, last week, and then the new game dropped. The other game I said, Aerial Knights, that dropped yesterday. So two games with two black leads. Shout out to them. Um, Definitely go check out my review. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Mm.
So yeah, the
Which
week.
systems?
So the Aerial Knights is actually on. Uh, Actually, everything. It's on. I reviewed it on Steam, so on PC,
Mhm.
but it's also
Mhm.
on the PS4, the
Mhm.
PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, and Nintendo Switch. And
Okay.
Subnautica is on all of those things as no, yes, all of those things as well. So
Awesome.
definitely go check that out. Subnautica Below Zero is a survival adventure game set in an open world environment that's mostly underwater, I believe. Um, but yeah,
Okay.
so definitely. I've seen the original game, or I should say the first game, because this one's a sequel. Um, of the 2018 game,
Mhm.
and I never played it. I saw it, but I didn't know too much about it. And because games come out every day, it's kind of hard to kind of keep up with it. But I did put this one on my radar because of the black protagonist. So awesome stuff.
Awesome.
But yeah, what about
Well,
your
yeah.
week?
Um, See, sometimes I get to a point, and I know I've said this before, where I can't remember my week. And it's not because like I'm an alcoholic or something. It's because I emotionally block out things that I don't feel make my soul at peace. So, going down the road of remembering what happened in this past week is probably traumatic, and therefore I don't know how my week went. I just know how I feel right now, and that's really much it. Maybe let's see. I did watch some stuff, of course. Did find a little bit of time to watch a few things,
Nice.
and I did decide that I was going to watch Maleficent, the second Maleficent. I just never got
Oh.
around to it because I just didn't have the time, but I was going to. The point is, I had intention there. And I also decided today that I was going to watch Tenet, but then I just never got the chance because I was doing laundry. And I was also getting my stove fixed. My oven was broken, and so I just never found the time. And so I have plans to do those things. But that's pretty much how my week went. It's just very not interesting. Oh, except I did watch the Elon Musk episode of SNL, which actually was kind of funny. And surprisingly, the Keegan Michael Key episode was dumb.
Oh
Hmm.
wow.
Yeah, I was actually very disappointed. But I was actually I actually thought the I actually thought the Elon Musk episode was funny. Oh, and wonderful news, my Binance profile finally got approved so I can do my trading, but I'm broke, so I can't buy any coins. Doesn't matter.
Goodness.
I'll
Well,
be
at
all
least
right.
you're approved. You are approved to do what you need to do. Um,
Totally.
yeah, I decided to stay away from such things. Uh, I'm good. I'm good over here. Really am.
I the thing is I don't know if I mentioned this before, but maybe I did, but like I said, I can't remember things anymore. Um I was supposed to buy Dogecoin back when it was in not exactly when it was introduced, but probably as early as like 2013 or 2014. I can't remember, around then. Um like 2014. I remember I was talking to my friend online about it because I really wanted to get it. And then he was like, "Okay, I'll help you with like cryptos and like give you more information. You can join my crypto class or whatever." But I don't necessarily recommend that one because it's really just a joke. And I was like, "Well, it's the only one." Oh, it was probably like 2014. I was like, it was the only one that I really cared about, that I had emotional investment in because I liked Doge. Because I like Doge. Like the Doge blog is awesome. And so that was really it for me. But I remember setting up my Coinbase account like years ago, maybe 2015 or something. And Coinbase didn't trade Doge. They only traded other stuff, which I really never got it. Like I was gonna do Ripple because it was cheap at the time or something, like XRP, Ethereum, whatever, and then I just never did. And then it took me, I'm telling you, it took me so long to actually understand cryptocurrency. It took me so long to understand blockchain. Like I just didn't get it. It was so because it's just so weird. And then I finally
Yeah.
started to understand what it meant, like understanding the amount of the like actually how the blockchain is created and how the power sources and the energy needing to do these decodings and all this crazy stuff that I'm probably not saying right, but I understand it in my head. And I was like, okay, yeah, let me do this, but then I just never did. I just didn't do it because I just felt like I was having such a hard time trying to find whoever traded Doge, and I kind of just gave up. And then here you go, Doge goes crazy, and I'm sitting here like, dang, I'm such a loser. Because I actually intended on this. This wasn't something where I'm like, oh, it's the year 2021. Hey, maybe I should just do this. No, this was actually something that I wanted to do a long time ago, but I was just running into difficulty. And then even so, like I was trying to do my wallet, making sure that I had a secure place for my wallet so that it wouldn't get hacked or anything like that, so I wouldn't lose my coins.
Right.
And my computer is so old that I don't have the memory. Like, I don't have enough RAM. I don't have enough. Like, I am living on some low technology right now. So just pray for me that I can at least get a new phone by the end of the week. Like,
Yes. We yes,
oh
lay
God.
hands on all sorts of your technology.
Seriously, I'll get a new phone, inshallah. Like, this is out of control. But anyway, yes, that's how my week has been. Oh, yeah, and my weeks start on Thursdays, everybody. Just letting y'all know. My weeks, they literally start on Thursday because Thursday is typically my day off. And I mean, that makes sense for us. I mean, you
Yes.
guys hear us on Fridays, but my week starts on Thursdays. So yeah.
That's what's up. Highlight. Uh
Oh, I wanted to mention something
yeah.
that I thought was interesting. Because I saw this on Google News, and we'll definitely touch on this at another time. But I saw this thing and it said alcohol gives you brain damage. I saw it on Google News earlier today and I was like, wait, I need to read this article. But I think I'm out of Washington Post articles for the month.
Man,
Free
I
one.
can never. I mean, I know that's a thing, but I could never get into like subscribing to a website just because there's so many websites that are free,
Free.
unless you had like dope features that only were posted there. But for the most part, the stuff that would be like a huge like breaking story interview with such and such, all that stuff they usually give you with at the Washington Post is usually like if you just want to watch, if you want to read the daily news all the time, they want you to subscribe.
Mm-hmm.
And that is weird. It's just weird to me. I know it's a thing and I'm okay with it because, before online, they got subscriptions for the paper. So
Yeah.
it just doesn't work for me because like I can go to like any website and just look up stuff. Like even the stuff you're covering, I can look over here and
Yeah.
and it's not like I'm stealing either because this person gets yeah, it's a thing. Anyways, um yeah, aside from Odd Week and whatnot,
And the
last
fact that COVID gets passed between dogs now, that.
yeah, COVID got to chill. Like I would like to get out of the parallelogram sometime in the near future. I really would. Speaking of which, my shot is gonna be on next Wednesday, my second shot.
Okay.
So
Word.
if we don't have another podcast that week, it's probably because I'm knocked out. So
Yes.
just want to throw that out there for the people listening that
Yes.
that's a possibility. But it will be my second Pfizer shot, and hopefully it'll be along the same lines of what the first one was, where I was just a little drowsy here and there,
Yes.
and a little sore.
Inshallah.
Right. Nothing too deep. We're hoping. But aside from
Yeah.
those things, we did watch a few shows, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, before we get into what we watched, though, just want to some highlights. Some highlights.
Yeah. Highlight.
Highlights and lowlights. A lot of it is low, unfortunately. One of the things we want to talk about is a bit of a highlight. Shout out to the IGN staff. If you don't know, IGN, the staff, wrote an article basically
Mhm.
showing or giving people access to different charities to help the uh, people in Palestine. So,
Mhm.
you know, and these are national organizations that were to help. It wasn't like, not to say that any organization is bad, but it's perfectly fine and vetted places, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And so it was cool. Everyone, celebrated them, especially because they have a big platform. Getting their getting that type of information out is a good look.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, IGN Israel had beef with that. And for those who don't know, IGN, the main site or the main company, the US side, is the main IGN. But Ziff Davis, the parent company, actually
Mhm.
licenses out the IGN brand to different
Mhm.
countries. So IGN Israel was like they felt the way because it was showing favoritism. It actually wasn't. It was actually very middle of the road. People are hurting. Let's give money to these people.
Right.
IGN Israel had a big beef with that, and apparently other partnerships that Ziff Davis has also had a beef with it. And so In the wee hours of the morning, they pulled the article and um, then they posted like a thing saying essentially it was not it wasn't not I don't want to say fair. They played a both sides thing. Like there's a two sides to
Mm-hmm.
the story, blah 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 blah, and then they took
Yeah,
it
they
down.
pulled a Trump. They
They
they pulled a Trump. They pulled a there's good people on both sides.
Yeah, and so they did that mess, and then they didn't tell the staff. They didn't tell the editorial staff. They were all sleeping when this happened. They get up, they get an
Mm-hmm.
email saying, "Hey, we did this, and also this needs to be posted on the IGN Twitter page." And this information is coming from sources like Kotaku, who spoke to different IGN, you know, editorial anonymously, as well as the IGN editorial on Twitter. Actually, they didn't actually say those words, but they were like, "I'm angry," or "I'm frustrated," or something, a mad face emoji. Like that they had nothing to do with it based on how they were, you know, saying things in code, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so sometime after that, they wrote a open letter and to Ziff Davis, and the open letter basically states that they were upset how the article was pulled. The journalistic side of IGN and anything else, essentially marketing, whatever the case may be, are separate. They're supposed to stay separate. The editorial staff is supposed to decide what goes where in terms of journalistic stuff, because they actually know what they're talking about. Their journalistic integrity is on the line, and they have
Mm-hmm.
editorial independence, meaning
Mm-hmm.
that you know Joe Schmo, who mind you, he writes the bills, but he doesn't know what he's talking about in terms of
Right.
journalism
Yeah.
is overstepping their bounds. And so they basically was like, hey, you know, they don't agree with the statement. And I'm paraphrasing, folks. They don't agree with the statement. They think helping children and civilians harmed by war shouldn't be a big thing. It shouldn't be a big deal. It's no different than when they did the Black Lives Matter charity or the Stop Asian Hate charity. People are hurt. This money will help them. That's essentially what they were trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, they were like they want an all hands meeting with IGN soon to have full transparency. Now, this was signed by just about, well, I don't want to say everyone. I won't do that. But it was signed by a lot of the editorial. It was also signed
Mm-hmm.
by contracted workers. It was signed by engineers, the video team. Like it was signed by a bunch of people who not even uh, directly, I don't want to say affected because that's a bad word to say, but they weren't a part of the editorial staff. They signed it too because they also felt that it was wrong. And so I want to definitely give them a shout out for doing that. That's very brave of them, and as well as to come
Mm-hmm.
together
Mm-hmm.
and to also be like, Ziff Davis is messing up. You're messing up.
Yeah.
And not even just that. Ziff Davis has been messing up for a while now. For people who don't know, Ziff Davis also owns, or Ziff Davis Media Group also owns, uh, PC Mag, Mashable, and Ask Men. These websites. Apparently,
Mm-hmm.
the staff of these websites got together and joined it. They are part of, I want to say, the New York Writers Guild, and
Okay.
they were like, we're not getting paid. We're not being paid what we should be getting paid. They've been going back and forth with bargaining between Ziff Davis and them. They actually staged a walkout back in April, and just recently they came to the conclusion that they are actually going to go on strike because they're still not being paid fair wages for their work. And it's not like Ziff Davis doesn't have the money. Like they're up
Right.
financially,
You're
they're
huge,
up.
man. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, they're going to go on strike, and I want to say it's about 97% of its members. This is a lot of people essentially.
A lot.
Is going to go on strike in the coming. I don't know if it's the coming week that they're going to do it or the following week. I'm not sure exactly the day, but they're going to take collective action if their demands aren't at least considered. And that's the big deal. It's not even like do what we say or we're out. It's like the negotiation has stalled. It's been 2 years since they started this negotiation. Like Ziff is dragging its feet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like it's been a mess over there with them, and they need to kind of get it together. They have honestly they have the a few of the biggest websites on the planet. You don't want to lose the staff that makes this thing run. You really don't,
Right.
especially
Yeah.
lose them to a competitor. Like,
Yeah.
and aside from like the moral stuff, just looking at it from a business standpoint, you don't want to alienate the amazing staff that you have. You know what I'm saying?
Seriously. I
It's
know, no, that's not a smart move.
yeah, I don't I don't
Mm.
I don't understand it.
Uh, Come on, Ziff Davis, do better.
Yeah,
Just do better.
it doesn't make any sense. Um,
I'm really pissed off at the whole issue with IGN Israel though. I just like I'm sorry. Maybe I should even step back. I guess we wouldn't it's not like we should expect them to have done anything differently. Okay.
true. That's
I
yeah. I was hoping
we
they would
shouldn't
stay
have
out of it
expected it.
though, at the very
Yeah,
least.
they could have. They could have stayed out of it, but they can't because I mean, forgive me for saying it like this, but they're entitled. And like it seems almost as if all these public entities on the Israeli side are just so effing entitled.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and the thing is the behavior that the Israeli government has been exuding over the last how many decades is also built up by Western nations.
yep.
They can do whatever they want and still be supported. They still get money, they still get weapons. The United States just signed a 700 and something $1 million weapons deal with them to send them more weapons. Like, and then every president we've had for the last four presidents that we've had have all said the same words, like Israel has a right to defend itself. I'm like,
But like, are you painting the full picture? Because when we look at it's
no.
similar to how people will make justification to attack like the Black Panthers. Like something will
Right.
happen and the Black Panthers, there might be a skirmish or there might something will go down and they're like, well, we
Mhm.
need to defend ourselves. But not only do they take out the people that they had the issue with, they now go on a hunt and like
Yeah.
burn down everything essentially. And then they keep
Yeah.
saying we had to defend ourselves. We had to no.
No.
Like
It's
there's
no.
responses and the US is used to this. The US does this a lot. You think about
Mhm.
and I'm not gonna we're not gonna stay too long on this because I know people are up in arms about
Right.
just talking bad about your country for whatever reason, right? But like I can admit when things are wrong.
Yeah.
The attack on Pearl Harbor was definitely wrong, but
I know.
the response was mad wrong. Like worse, 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 worse. And that's what I feel like. So like when they say like this particular group attack this particular group, what else is this group doing? Well, this group has been doing a
Yeah.
lot of aid. They've been providing a lot of, you know, uh, whether it's monetarily,
Mhm.
aid or like food or shelter or whatever the case may be, they've been
Mhm.
helping their people. It's not all like they shot at us and then we blew them up and
Right.
that's what they get. No, it's not like that.
It's not like that.
Israel's
And
been
it's
doing a lot of shady stuff for a while now.
well,
If you
one of the shady things that they did was help create Hamas in the first place.
Right, because there wasn't just like how the oppression of black people created the Black Panthers. And I'm not trying to say a one-to-one type of
Mhm.
thing. What I'm saying
Yeah.
is that when people talk about the Black Panthers in a hateful way, they don't talk about the free school, free breakfast that they
Mhm.
did, all the social work that they did for not just for black people, but for white people and Asian people and all the people in their community essentially, giving aid to the poor. They did a lot of great things. And so, but when certain white people talk about it, it's skipped over. And it's the same thing here.
Mhm.
Nobody wants anyone to die. Let's paint that picture, make that picture clear. No one wants anybody to die. But if there's opportunity to have peace, you kind of have to look at what it is you're doing and what it is you aren't doing. If one
Mhm.
side is saying, "Hey, we would like to do a ceasefire. We would like to stop. We would like to move away from whatever this is," and you were like, "We're going to keep going until it's silent." What are you
Mhm.
telling people? And then on top of that, you bomb like news places. You
Yeah.
stop people from recording and taping things. You actually take them off the streets. It's very
Mhm.
similar to when we had Black Lives Matter and like the police were beating up press.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same type of stuff.
Yeah.
It's gotten super more violent over there because
Mm-hmm.
the U.S. has created this narrative that can't get it doesn't get washed away. It can't. The people are stuck with this narrative, and so no matter what happens,
Yeah.
Israel can do the absolute worst, and people will be like, "Well, we got to stick with them."
That's like
It's
for what?
it doesn't
For
make any sense because
what?
half the people, and this goes back to people not knowing what they're talking about.
I
They get a little bit
know.
of information, a very little, and then they go off of that, and then that's it. That's all they have. But all this other information that's floating around, that's readily available,
Right.
they skip right the hell over, and that is so frustrating when you're trying to, or when you're dealing with someone's life. You don't
Yeah.
have that luxury, or at least we don't.
No.
People that look like me don't have that luxury of just skipping over
No.
shit. Like that's not, yeah,
Yeah. No. People, come on, get it right. Like I said last week, like see through the bullshit. That's what I was talking about last week when I said that. Like see through the bullshit. Like if you need watch some films, watch Paradise Now. Like it's just out of control. This is really, really, really. It's just gone on too long. Obviously, it's gone on for 70 years too long. This is bad, and people really need to do. They really need to realize what Israel's actually doing and the fact that Western countries like the United States are supporting them. And you need to demand more from your representatives. Everybody should feel uncomfortable with this.
right,
Everyone should feel uncomfortable because our money, our tax dollars is literally going to the like it's not just oppression of some people that you can't see. Like it's on tape almost all the time. We just don't watch it. And right now, I
yeah,
mean, like I have definitely spent way too much time in the last couple of days. Maybe this is why I don't remember anything. I also did hit my head about like 2 hours ago. Really bad, but
oh God,
I'm staying awake just so I know I don't have a concussion. I did. I hit my head on the dryer door. It was actually pretty painful. I had to sit down for a while, but
oh
that's okay.
God, are you
That's not the
okay?
point. I don't know.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know, people. Again, Kenny's getting his shot next week. If you don't hear from us, that's because he's not well. But it could also mean that I'm not either. So just check in with us. Please listen next week because you might need to, just keep your ears open.
Right.
We need y'all to check on us to see if we're okay.
Yes, check on your strong
Um,
friends.
please do. Please do. But anyway, back to what I was saying. No, for real, like, hold your representatives accountable. Understand that this is literally where your tax dollars are going, and we need to do more. We really do need to do more. I've watched way too many videos of families that have been killed, and I think the saddest thing that's bothering me right now is the fact that family members are trading their children and in a game of tic tac toe, basically, just basically saying if a bomb hits here, at least my brother's children, two of my brother's six children are with me, and two of my six children are with him. If
Right.
they die, at least some of his children will live and some of my children will live. Families are literally doing this, and they've been doing this for a long time. They've been doing this for years, passing off their offspring to other strategic homes so that their bloodline lives on. Can you imagine being told that today? Oh, yeah, I live in, I don't know, San Diego, beautiful, gorgeous city. And you literally have to call your, brother or sister in Houston or Roanoke, Virginia, trading children across the country just because we think a bomb is going to hit somewhere and we don't know where. Like,
For stuff
come
that has
on.
nothing to do with you.
Come on. Like that is just upsetting. And people are like, well, they were told they should evacuate. To where? Y'all know how big the
Exactly.
Gaza Strip is? To where? Where are they going? These people are literally caged in. They are caged. Watch Paradise Now, please. Like I watched that movie years ago after college. I remember sometime after like a couple of years after I left school and watched that movie and I was like, this is some messed up stuff. They're caged in. They can't go anywhere.
Yeah,
And
it's
and and I find it so interesting how Benjamin Netanyahu can get on TV And Israeli right wingers, whatever, will get on TV and say, well, Hamas is using children and hospitals as shields. And I'm like, but then you are literally killing those shields.
Right.
Like,
Like, how does that make that okay? How do you,
yeah,
when there's a negotiation, like there's a hostage standoff, and I'm not speaking from an authority on how you should negotiate a hostage standoff, but I could imagine that if someone is holding a hostage somewhere, you don't bomb the
mm-hmm,
building that they're in with the hostage.
yeah, yeah,
Typically, you go in, or either there's hours of negotiation, or you go in surgically and remove the threat. You don't just,
right.
you know what, they're using humans, children and women and whatnot as shields. Let's just bomb this entire area. We'll sort it
Right.
out later. Like, it doesn't make it, you sound worse when you say that. Like,
Yeah, they sound like Tywin Lannister.
yeah, you don't sound like, because you're trying to make them to be the bad guy. You're the bad guy in
And
this story.
and that's how you know that they don't care about Palestinians at all. They just want to wipe them off the face of the planet. Because if you wanted to save children, you would save them. But instead, you just like throw the baby out with the bathwater, and that's not okay. And I'm over it. Like I think I probably sound so mellow because I am emotionally exhausted from it. I am. I'm very,
Yeah.
very tired.
And
This is enough.
this is not the same time. I want to be clear, because we kind of saw this before with Black Lives Matter. This isn't the this isn't the tired that some of our white allies expressed after, the weeks of protesting and all this other stuff. Because the sentiment was like, hey, yeah, you might be tired, but kind of keep that to yourself, because this has been a lifelong thing. This is a different type of tired. This is like
Right.
heaped on top of the stuff that we go through, heaped on top
Yeah.
of minority, because we are the people that usually speak up. Like,
Yeah.
black and brown people usually speak up for black and brown people. That just,
Exactly.
and my Asian people and whatnot. Like, we typically do that for one another, and so we collectively get to be tired.
Yeah.
Anywho, um, moving on from there.
Moving
Uh,
on.
this segment, I'm actually gonna throw it to Tess a little bit, because I am not as familiar with Berserk, the manga of Berserk, but the Berserk creator, how do you pronounce his name?
Muda Kentaro.
There you go.
Anyway, we'll say it the American way, Kentaro Miura, but Miura Kentaro, yeah, he passed away, and
I think he was
that's pretty sad.
54,
Yeah,
which
just
is
54 years old.
not old. It's really not. Did
No.
did they did they find out why? Like, what had happened?
Yeah, so they said he had an aortic dissection. So unfortunately, they literally just released this information like last night or like in the very wee hours of this morning or something. Like I found out about it earlier today. And I was like, whoa, 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 what? And
Mm.
but apparently he actually passed away on May 6th. And but it was just released today. He had what's called an aortic dissection, which is it's like this thing where it's not a heart attack, it's like worse. It's like where basically like I don't know if it's like valves or whatnot, but the tissue kind of like splits apart
Oh.
and you kind of bleed out. And I don't know, I'm only doing like enough Grey's Anatomy that I remember. um, but yeah, so that's what happened to him. He's 54 years old, so I'm not really sure if there was an underlying health issue because I do know that people with EDS can have that, or people who've had other health issues could suffer from that. But it's just very sad to hear that because he himself is actually I don't want to say like decorated, but he created one of the coolest dark fantasies ever.
Yeah.
And Berserk is it kind of gave way to a lot of other things. It actually I mean, it has a lot of influence on a lot of the things that we've always already talked about. It has influence in Castlevania as well.
Yeah. Definitely.
And which we will talk about afterward. And so Berserk is such a great story. I always talk about it how it is one of my favorite animes ever. It is an amazing manga. I never got very far in the manga because obviously I had already seen the anime. I have started the manga. I started manga a long time ago, and honestly, I like started a long time ago and then kind of never got very far. And then they shut down my free site, so I have to get Crunchyroll and stuff. But but I the thing is, the manga wasn't complete. and and then a lot of people are, of course, upset, obviously upset that this man passed away. And then the other side of that is that he did not finish Berserk. And so it's I mean, unless he did finish it secretly and didn't tell nobody, but seeing as his death seemed to be much more of a surprise than something that it was, known like it was going to happen. Um, More than likely, this series was not complete. So this is going to be one of those stories where it's like it was so amazing. It was so brilliantly thought out. This story has been going on since like 1989, and it's not complete, and it's been amazing. So unfortunately for all the fans out there, this is going to be one of those things that you just got to let go. But which is it's another thing, people are always scared about Game of Thrones, like with George Martin. They're like, please finish this book because we're very worried that something might happen to you because he doesn't like look healthy on the outside. So that's a lot of people have already been saying that. But anyway, it is really sad that he passed away, especially at such a young age. And today, actually, a lot of gamers were holding like memorial services inside of games. I heard
Saw that.
that Final Fantasy 14 players were having memorials. So obviously, a lot of people cared about him a lot. The gaming world cared about him a lot. Obviously, people were into manga and anime are really into him, and so I think that was really nice. That's a nice honoring. And you can see how many people actually really, really were his fans. He was really talented. Apparently, he started working on manga when he was 10. Like,
Oh
how are
wow.
you 10, dude? How are you 10? And he made his first manga. So, but yeah, I honestly, like I've said before, Berserk is one of my favorites of all time. I know Kenny has not watched it. We've also spoken about why you have not watched it.
That is correct. I've watched a very little, very little.
Yeah. Again, its genre is dark fantasy. This is very, very gruesome. It has demon. It takes place in like, Middle Ages. It has demons. It has a lot of blood, a lot of gore, murder, rape. There's actually this part where you find out that one of the main characters was molested as a child, and you're like, oh snap. Like when you get to that episode, you're like, and you just want to die. Like your heart wants to you just want to die. Like we actually talked about this before, how I said that after I watched Berserk, after I finished it, I was depressed. It took
Yeah,
me like 2
see,
whole weeks to get to a new space.
yeah, and it's and what's funny about that is we talked about different shows that we've watched to
Mhm.
kind of help mitigate feelings
Right.
that we have during COVID time, and they were all in a darker realm. But for
Mhm.
me, I just can't get, especially now, especially nowadays, not so much
Mhm.
before. And I don't know if that's a good thing to say, but like being a
Mhm.
parent,
Yes.
a father, and having daughters and a
Mhm.
wife, I just can't rock with rape. Like I just,
I know.
as a medium, like not a medium, that's no one has a rape
Mhm.
medium, but like as a
Right.
thing that we do to, because this was something that was done in horror a lot as well.
Right.
The Hills Have Eyes, especially, movies like that where like the horror for women was rape, and then the
Mhm.
horror
Yeah.
for, I guess, guys was like dismemberment.
Yeah.
And it's different. Like I can deal with the violence. I can't deal with that. I get very angry. I get, what I'm saying? So I can't, there's certain things I can't rock with. And I'm not,
Mhm.
you know, judging anyone who digs the
Mhm.
content, because I know you're not there for that. You're there
Right.
for the story that just happens to be a
Mhm.
part of. One of my
Yeah.
favorite comic books of all time, comic book series, is The Walking Dead. And it has a
Mhm.
pretty graphic, rape depiction in that book, but the book is
Yeah.
much more than just that. So I definitely
Yeah.
get it. It's just visually, and maybe I will get around to reading
Mhm.
the manga sometime. I just think
Mhm.
visually animated, like you had to sit and draw that, fam. Like
I
I don't
know.
know. It's
No,
it's different.
you're right. You're actually right. And there's only, certain artists typically stay in the same genre. Obviously, this has been this man's like life work. Like he's been doing this for a very long time. Even Satoshi Kon. Satoshi Kon died several years ago. I feel like it was in 2011 or 2009. I can't exactly remember. But I love Satoshi Kon. I love like everything he did. But it was all very dark. And so there's one again where it's like, oh snap, this guy when he like has a rape scene, it is very realistic. Like it was actually very, very, very realistic, but it was also an acting scene in the movie. It was an acting scene. It was literally them acting out a rape scene and like literally having the character who was part of the rape actually apologize to the girl, being like, "Yeah, I'm really sorry." I was like, "Whoa, you thought of everything." Because otherwise, it would have just been, okay, here's this very uncomfortable scene where this woman is being violated, but this was actually acting. And then, they're like, cut. And then it's like, oh, I'm so glad that's over. And it's like, yeah, hey, what are you doing after work today? And
So
I'm like,
all of that was filmed?
damn. Yes, it was part of this. It was part of the whole thing.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
and so that's super creative to animate, And
Yeah.
so, if you go back to Berserk, um, the rape of Casca, which is the progenitor of, I think, of the first video game, that
Yeah.
happened at the end of the show, on the last episode, in the last 25 seconds of the show. And it's the nail in the coffin. It's like it's the part of the show that actually just makes you so sad, because when you realize, like when you truly, truly, truly go back and think of everything that happened in the entire show, that's why this is so well thought out, and that's why this man is really, really, really talented. It was like, you have this main character who has all of this trauma, who's gone through all of these horrible things, but had one goal, because he was, treated like trash. He had one goal. And to reach his goal, it's like a Macbethian story. To reach his goal, he cannot stray by being in love with the woman who's at his side. So he just keeps moving forward and doing all these horrible things. And finally, the woman who's at his side falls in love with his best friend. And
Oh,
it's like,
goodness.
and because everything was taken from him, because his best friend decided to walk away and say, I want to be your equal. I can never be your equal as long as I work for you. Literally walked away, and he emotionally was upset and didn't never really knew how to control his own personal emotion when his best friend walked away, because he was so used to being in control and moving forward. Instead of going with the plan, he kind of just like jumped ahead and was like, well, fuck it. If my BFF is just going to deuces because he wants to be equals, well, then I'm going to like trump him and become king tomorrow. Let me go sleep with the king's daughter.
Dude,
And that was treason. And then next thing you know, what happens? Boom, he gets in jail. They cut his Achilles tendons and cut out his tongue and abuse him for 2 years. And this
that's
is
some Game of Thrones stuff right there.
it's where Game of Thrones came from, clearly. No, kidding, kidding, kidding. But it's so bad. Like it's so horrible what happens to him. And this woman who's been at his side since, even she was a child, this woman who's been at his side, who he loves deep down inside, but he cannot, like, he could never go that direction. He needed to marry a princess so that he could be king one day, or so he could be somebody of importance someday. He was a mercenary aiming for the sky. And she always like was up his ass. Like she like loved the shit out of him. But that changed when he became a prisoner. It was like her dying and her undying devotion was, disaster and depression. And her entire band was almost disbanded because half of them were dead. Like she was suffering trying to get this man free. And finally they were able, when the best friend comes back, they're able to, bust him out of jail and get him to safety, but he's not the same man. He cannot walk, he cannot speak, he cannot do anything. He has to be changed, he has to be fed, he has to be bathed. He is not the same beautiful man that he was before, who was strong and led a band of mercenaries and was hired by or sought out by kingdom after kingdom to fight their wars. He wasn't the same person anymore. And in the end, the only thing he could do to get what he wanted back was like, what if he had just loved her? Like, what if he had just gone the other direction instead of being ambitious? Because now his best friend and her are in love and he can see it and it's right in front of his face. But what can he do? And she's sitting there saying, I can never leave him. I can never leave him. And what he does, he has this talisman that he's had since he was a child and he uses it. It feeds on his insides. It feeds on the sadness and the despair and all of that stuff. And he uses it to grant one wish. And it basically kills all of his friends and turns himself into a demon. Everyone dies except the three of them, him, the girl, and the best friend. And in the end, because he knows that she and the best friend are in love with each other, because he knows that, and she was the one possession that he never took, he literally rapes her in front of his best friend because he's a demon now. He's not a human anymore. He let the talisman turn him into a demon
Yeah,
so he could have
see,
it. It
I,
is bad. And the thing is, another demon holds the best friend down and pokes the dude's eye out. That's why Guts doesn't have an eye.
yeah,
It's
I've read about
all effed
parts
up.
of that, and I was like, I am good over here.
Right.
I would just watch my Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo and my Samurai 7. I will be fine. It
Right.
you know what I mean? Like I am good. I am good over here.
You're good. And you're right, because honestly, I did not know that I was going to see this. Like, I didn't know. I didn't.
I
Now,
don't
and
think
this,
anybody was
mind
ready
you,
for that. Nobody was ready
no
for
one.
what was coming uh in his
That's why it's in the
series.
last episode at the 20th second mark, basically, because no one would. You already find out a few episodes earlier that he was molested when he was a child. Like, and that's how he used that, because he killed the people who molested him. And he used that pain and he used that cunning to get forward in life. This is what, like, every trick of the trade he ever learned when he was young, because he had to survive. And all of those things turn him into this. I don't even know if you want to call him a protagonist. I don't know what to call him. But he is a very, very, very complex and mutilated character. And it's depressing. Like, I'm
Yeah.
sitting here working in
I
so my point in my point in this is Muira Kentaro clearly had a streak of genius in him, and this was a very, very, very gripping story, a very gripping story, and I think we were blessed to have this because it inspired a lot of other works. There's video games based on Berserk. Actually, the video game I think that's on PlayStation is actually based on Dynasty Warriors. And I talk about
yeah,
Dynasty Warriors all the time.
a lot of it is pulled from different things. And
Yeah,
the Souls, like Dark Souls and all that
Dark Souls.
is I mean, it's
Hmm.
one of the most sold, manga ever. Like
Ever.
it's
Hmm.
yeah, it's critically acclaimed. A lot of people, love it, and a lot of people, just enjoyed his work and the things that he did.
Hmm.
Whether it's necessarily for you or not,
Right.
is doesn't really matter. It's more so the impact he's had on just about. There's so many different areas of media that we consume that he's had an impact on, you know.
Yeah.
So he will definitely be missed. Uh, you know what I mean? And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate.
Yeah. It's very sad.
A lot of people who are, creative geniuses or just pretty interesting people in their own right, having a rough time of it at the end, and
Yeah.
or passing away too soon, or in some cases they actually did get to live like a full life, but hearing it now because of COVID and things of that nature, and how difficult it is to even just be around people, let alone plan a funeral and things of that nature, it's just
Yeah.
sad. It's extra sad on top of it. So,
Yeah.
we prayers out to the family and whatnot, and to
Hmm.
the fans. Um, See, this is the point. I typically I try not to listen to a lot of different podcasts because I don't want to like accidentally take something that they do, but this will be one time I would take something from the Joe Budden podcast when he plays music.
Uh-huh.
He'll play music after they talk about like someone who's passed or whatever to kind of get the mood back up
Mhm.
or whatever. And we don't really have music here outside of like maybe that's something in the future, but right now we don't really do music.
Could we
Uh,
just sing something?
I don't know. Like if we do some like some songs from popular anime that wasn't like had to worry about licensing, that would be great. That would be great. Um,
Yeah.
what we can do though is move on to something that's a little bit more. Um, now that I would say a lot more uplifting or I don't want to say positive or negative in terms of comparisons, but a little bit easier to
Mhm.
talk about. Um,
Sure.
with the ironic name of Love, Death, and Robots.
Love
Uh,
it.
the second season dropped this week, I believe. I believe it was this week. The second season, if you didn't know or you haven't seen the first season, it's on Netflix. It's an adult animation anthology series where they have short little animated, I guess, mini films. They're like 17, from 6 to 17 minutes long, roughly. And they're done
Mhm.
by different artists, different directors a lot of times, all under this one theme of love, death, and robots. So they share,
Mhm.
something, usually something with technology. It's interwoven through all the different stories, or at the very least, love and death. And it's really cool how they do that because they have
Mhm.
those three topics or those three, different distinct things that they put together to make all these different animated shorts. And
Mhm.
so the first one was great, 18 episodes, came out 2019.
Mhm.
Second season is only 8 episodes, and I already feel away. I feel away that it's only 8 episodes because they were good. Mind you, majority of these episodes are longer than the first seasons. The first season
Mhm.
had as little as 6 minutes, whereas none of the episodes in this one is 6 minutes. The shortest one is seven. I guess whatever, but most of them are 14 and up, 18 minutes even. So I guess it's a give and take. But these
Mhm.
stories themselves are really interesting, and so you want more. You want more, right? So season two kicks off with the automated customer service, which I thought was hilarious. Hilarious. It's essentially, and like we typically do, we spoil the first episode, but because this is a short, series. We're not going to, dive too far into the first episode, but I do want
Mhm.
to give you the premise. Essentially, it's a futuristic retirement community.
Mhm.
Everybody's doing their own thing. The robots are doing most of it. Like you see a dog being walked by a robot, and all the yard work is being done by robots and things like that. We find a elderly woman who's in her house, and well, her vacuum bot is actually cleaning, like vacuuming and folding and stuff like that. And there's
Mhm.
a picture sitting on I guess like a counter or something, and she moves it, to where she wants it to be. And apparently the robot didn't like that. He wanted it to be, symmetrical, I guess, with everything else. They go back and forth, and eventually the robot gets pissed. And I'm just gonna leave that part there. Um, it's hilarious because while this stuff is going on, she's calling customer service to get help, and the customer service bot or app or whatever is telling her to do things. And when she does it, it's like, oh, you accidentally, triggered the skin this person
Right.
alive, feature, or you accidentally did whatever, and now this thing is gonna do, and so it's like it's funny because she's when we think about jokes around customer
Mhm.
service, it's usually this person doesn't speak English. They tell you to press one, press five, press six, and then you accidentally loop yourself back to the beginning. This, on the other hand, was actually different because they actually knew what was being said,
Yep.
but none of it was good. None
Nope.
of it was good. Definitely
Nope.
a dope short. It was done 13 minutes long. Um,
Mhm.
the animation studio is a tall studio, I believe it's called. I haven't actually heard of them, but they did a really good job with the CGI. Uh,
Yes.
it looked great. It reminded me of Wall-E in the sense that in Wall-E, at the end of Wall-E, they have all the overweight people, and their proportionates are all their proportions are stretched out and all this other stuff. It's similar to that, but like adult and dark, if you will.
I
But yeah,
like how basically the robot, I mean, the craziness of the robot is really what caused like the two old people to kind of, run off together
right.
because he saved her for, she's minding her business in her house, doing her thing, just living her life. And then her robot vacuum goes ape and tries to kill her dog. And the customer service person is like, dude, you should just throw your dog at the vacuum and save yourself. She's like, what the hell? And then the old guy, he's like, the neighbor, he's like, well, I mean, I like you, I'll save you. And they end up running off together after they destroy the vacuum. I mean, I don't even know if the vacuum is really destroyed, but man, that was just all funny. What, did they run off in a golf cart or was it his car?
It was his golf cart, and that's which was
Oh my
it
God.
added to the theme of them being retired. No one had a
Yes,
car.
right.
It was all golf carts and whatnot.
It's
Yeah, definitely
hilarious.
good stuff. The second
Yeah.
episode was called Ice. 'Cause I know you only watched the first two.
The
Um,
first two.
I went through all of them. They're all great. Even the last one, which is kind of, I don't want to say weird because a lot of this is
Mhm.
weird, but it was very poetic. I'll leave it at that. But it was different
Mhm.
from the other ones. But still solid. Ice was pretty cool, dealing with two brothers and one of them being special, one being not so special, I guess. And by that I mean like having augmented, body. Think like mutants or like a cyborg or whatever. Like the younger
Mhm.
brother was better in just about everything physically. The
Mhm.
older brother wasn't, and being one of the only people who wasn't augmented, he didn't really make friends and et cetera, et cetera. And so there's this really cool story between them that's only 13 minutes long. Like I said, these are all short,
Mhm.
um, where they kind of, work through some stuff. And they do a really good job. The animation here is different. It's not CGI like the previous one. It's more of it's animated, but or like you would think like anime or something to that. But it reminds me. I think the closest thing I can think of is like was it Aeon Flux, kind of,
Mhm.
but the coloring is different. The coloring was like a cell shaded or I'm sorry, I'm a bit of a nerd for this stuff. Uh, it's it was very distinct visual style,
Yeah.
and shout out to Passion Animation Studios for that one. It was
Mhm.
pretty dope. Like I
Yeah, I
and
really enjoyed it.
it was really good. It was solid animation, and I also like how this one. I think the customer service one was set in a place that you could kind of understand what was going on based
Mhm.
on current activity or current life.
Yeah, it's based on
Whereas,
regular life. Yeah.
right, it's just, far-fetched in the future. Whereas Ice was this whole different world per se,
Mhm.
and we don't know what's going on,
Mhm.
but they don't tell you things. They kind of just let
Yeah.
you kind of be. And because of that, you get to experience it in a really fresh way, as opposed to having someone kind of tell you like, okay, on this planet we do A, B, and C. There's these people. It was
Mhm.
kind of like we're just in the moment, and because of
Mhm.
that, the things that were like odd or out of the realm of normalcy emphasize the normal story, and it worked
Yeah.
really freaking well. I'm
It
trying to
was
say it
perfect.
without saying stuff, but it
I
worked
know.
really well.
It was, yeah, without spoiling it for anybody, I mean, I've only seen these two and they were really funny, but the ice one I really, really liked. It just kind of pulled at my heartstrings.
Yeah,
And I like the fact that you didn't know what was going on because the thing is, even though you don't know, like you're not really getting any information except that, you've got these two brothers who are kind of arguing in a way. You don't know anything. You're really left in the dark, which is kind of a pun because it's actually dark colored. Everything is dark.
right.
So you don't know anything, but what I will say is that the animation, what you're looking at keeps you occupied. So you might be wondering what the heck is going on, but you shouldn't be distracted because it looks really cool. So you're just kind of
Yeah.
gonna you want to figure out what's happening because you don't want to take your eyes away. And and actually that just makes the story better when you finally do get to the end and you're like, this was nice. This was a good use of my 12 minutes or whatever.
Right. Like, and that's usually because it's some of this, at least with season one, a lot of it was like you're watching something and then there's a twist. Like that was the theme. There was some that was straightforward, and then there's some that was like, there's a twist, and that seems to be like, we got to M Night it all the time, and a lot of times you don't really need to. But
Yeah, you don't.
Ice on this hand, in this side, it wasn't really a twist. It was like a aha moment, and it
Mhm.
worked really well. It worked really well
It
with the
did.
characters. Um, I just wish there was more. I
I
wish
know.
that there was more of these stories, these shorts. I wish that they expanded on where they were going because the first season we had everything from
Mhm.
farmers fighting monsters using mechs. These farmers lived next to like this area of land that would open up, like they would open up to another
Mhm.
dimension, and these creatures would come out. So they would have all these defenses set up. It only happened like once every however many years, but when it did
Mhm.
happen, they had all these defenses. So like you're looking at a show where it's just a happy farm. Like everyone's, doing what they do. And then all of a sudden alarms go off and they're like, we got to get to the bunker and we got to do all these things. And you're thinking, oh, there's going to be maybe there, where they live, there's going to be vampires or werewolves or something's going to come out. So they have to hide. But instead, all these defenses come up, these guns and robots. And you're like, what the hell am I watching? Like, so those type of twists, where like it's not so much a twist ending, but it's a twist on
Mhm.
your perception of what's happening, I think is really nice or really neat, and I think they should do that more. One of
Mhm.
them, and I know you haven't seen it, but from this season was called The Tall Grass. Does that a little
Mhm.
bit where you think it's one thing, but it isn't. It's not a big of as a twist as the one that I just explained, but when it
Mhm.
happens, you're like, wait, you knew this the whole time? Like, and you just
Right.
let me go? Like it's really good. Like I want you to watch the rest, um, so we can talk about it off air because
Yes.
they do a super good job of just kind of sliding some stuff
Mhm.
underneath, while you're not paying attention, and all of a sudden all hell breaks loose, and you're like, "What did I just watch?" You have to kind of sit with it. So yeah, definitely a dope show. My biggest gripe outside of not being able to or not getting more episodes for this season
Mhm.
is the fact that you can't purchase it anywhere.
Yeah, what is that? Well, come on. What's up with that Netflix? What's going on here?
I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense because Netflix wants you to subscribe. But there's been times where like Netflix originals were available to buy after a certain time. And while the second season, I can imagine not being available right now. The first season came out in 2019. At the very least, we should be able to purchase that. I can't find it anywhere, and I feel away.
Yeah. I feel
Um,
away too, and I don't need like yeah, that's not fair.
it's
Maybe
not.
because I'm still mad at Google for getting rid of Google Play Music because all my music is gone.
Oh, you
So
didn't get the transfer?
no, because I didn't know what the heck was going on. I was like, la la la, minding my business, thinking that I had like I don't know. I guess I thought that if you had your music that you bought it, like you would always have it. And so I never transferred anything, and I had
Dang.
all my Prince CDs were on there. My
Oh,
Prince
that's
CDs, my
trash.
Miguel. Yeah, it's total trash. It's total trash. I had I had Pimp a Butterfly on there. I had Solange's album. I had all my Prince albums, like five Prince albums, maybe like three Prince albums. And I had Miguel. I had both I said both. Two of Miguel's albums. Oh, and two Bruno Mars albums. I was pissed.
See, and this, because what happened with me, they sent the email saying we're getting rid of Google Play or Google whatever it's called, and then
Mhm.
we're gonna put all of our attention into the YouTube online app or
Mhm.
the YouTube music side. And they were like, we're gonna roll a feature out that allows you to transfer all of your music over to that and have it like in folders there. So similar to Google Play, but on YouTube or in that app. And but it wasn't immediate. It was like we're gonna roll it out to people in sections. Um, and while that's a thing that was option, like an option for you to do, it's still kind of trash because it should just have been automated. If you're gonna move so many
Yeah.
people to the point where, like, because people, like you said, you bought albums. I bought albums. I bought a ton of albums,
Yeah.
and because I just liked how Google Play allowed me to. It did it before Apple did certain things. Google was able to do it. That's all I'm gonna
Yeah.
say there, because I'll be ranting. But when that happened, I'm like, just make it automated. Just like, hey,
Right.
just so you know, we backed up all your stuff. So maybe
Like,
like
why didn't they just back it into Drive? Like everybody who has a Google account has Drive. So why didn't they just back it into Drive like that? I just that's what I didn't understand.
because what it is, or at least I'm assuming that they didn't necessarily want to do this because if you remember, if you look, Google YouTube doesn't allow you to buy music on it.
Right.
They want you to stream. If you buy and if you I'm the type of person who if I buy an album, if I really like your album and I buy it, which says a
Mhm.
lot because I don't really buy albums a lot, I still go and stream it because I want you to get extra money. With YouTube, the way they have it set up, it's only streamable. It's not purchasable. And I
Mhm.
think they didn't necessarily want people to bring that music over because you would have to then stream it and they get a part of
Mhm.
that revenue. That's the only
Mhm.
thing I could think of because other than that, you're why alienate all of your, your customers who purchase music through your app and have them lose their music? Like why would
Yeah.
you do that? Just to use another app that they're not familiar with?
Yeah.
I
It's
don't know,
not
that's just
fair.
goofy to me. It's just really
And I
silly.
was never notified. Like, at least you got an email. I never got one. I mean, I know this. I know I never got one. But then at the same time, remember, like we've talked about how how Gmail has been messing up.
Yeah.
Like you can't see stuff. You can't. I don't know. I have reset my Gmail many times back to the original or whatever. Defaults because I'm not getting emails. They just won't pop up, and I don't know where they're going. And so I'm like, yeah, I was never notified about this. I literally had like went to go look for my music one day because I wanted to go for a walk because I finally got my headphones back. And let me explain this a little bit better. One of the reasons why I didn't know this was happening for real was because I didn't have my headphones. My headphones have been at a friend's house since August of last year. These are my true wireless. Yeah, my Jabra Sports, the ones that I used to work out in. I clearly don't work out anymore. I'm fat now. And so because of that, because I have not had headphones, I haven't been listening to music on my phone. I just haven't done it. And that's where all my stuff is. It's on my phone. I don't listen to it from my computer. I just don't. Honestly, I sit in quiet a lot especially because I'm at work all the time and I'm hearing noise there. So I have a tendency to be sitting quiet when I'm at home. Unless I wanted to go like walk or something. When I finally got my headphones back, about 2 months ago, that's when I actually looked for my music and I didn't have access to it. And I was like, this is really, really angering me. So, yeah. So I feel a type of way
Ah.
for you when it comes to Love, Death, and Robots and not being able to get it from Netflix. Screw y'all. Do better.
Yeah, because and even on Netflix side, I get it. They want you to subscribe, and they want if everything is purchasable, then eventually people will leave. And they paid way too much money partnering with Paramount to get this done. So I get it.
Whatever.
But on the flip side, it's like it's nice to be able to own stuff, even if
Mm-hmm.
it's not because we're hopefully we'll get to the point where digital purchases will be actual purchases and not licenses. But it's nice to own something and then be able to go back and do what with it you will. Or
I
I
know.
think I said that right. Whatever. But to do with it as you please is probably better. Um, because then I could watch. Like there was some Korean dramas that my wife really liked. Um, that I end up like as a gift I bought for her because I know Netflix is not going to keep it. Like once the license is up,
Yeah.
it's going to go away, and then you won't be able to watch it, at least legally, anyways. So like, let me go
Yeah.
ahead and purchase these so that if all the internet goes down, if you can't access Netflix or Netflix just takes them off, you have a disc that you can watch. And obviously it's not the most fail-proof thing ever because you can break discs and all the other stuff. It helps. At the very least, it helps. Like I have a lot of my movies where I buy the version that, well, at least Voodoo used to do this, where you would buy the disc and then you would get the digital version for free. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so then
Yeah.
what I would do is I would always watch the digital and just leave the disc, like put the disc away. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
there's no chance of it being destroyed or whatever the case may be. And so I get best of both worlds, but I own something. And so
Yeah.
yeah, I would like to own. I think left love death, and robots is worth owning. I think it's a great series, and who knows,
I
maybe
agree.
when they get to the end of it, however long that'll be, maybe they'll do like a compilation thing or something.
Right. Maybe
Uh,
it'll be a yeah.
you
I
know,
would say in the meantime, since you've already watched all of it, and if you don't want to keep watching over it, you can try to watch Cake. I've seen a couple episodes of Cake. It's very weird, but it's all based in the same. It's based in technology. They're like stories that are based in technology. Um, and so you can watch. It's on FX.
oh wow. See, when you said cake, I was thinking about that phenomenon that was happening on Twitter last year, where this person made cake out of, or made cake to look like ordinary objects, and
Oh,
you
those
right, and you
no.
couldn't tell, and so everyone was like, "That's cake." Like if something went wrong, that's also cake. Like, so I thought you were talking about that, but yeah, I might check it out. It's just I like to own stuff. I just really like to
Yeah,
own stuff. Speaking of something else, I probably can't own is the Castlevania series.
yeah.
We've been watching that. Oh, actually, you finished
You
it.
have. I
I,
did finish it.
I am on the final season,
Hmm.
and I'm on, I think I want to say episode 3. No,
Hmm.
I went through episode 4 is You Must Sacrifice. So I finished episode 4. That's where I'm at.
Okay.
Um, and so
Okay.
far it's cool. I think it's starting out better than season 3 did, because season
Well,
3 was a little season 3 was a little odd. It was a little odd.
let me just say this. I need to get this out because I just need to get this out. Season one, okay. I think this show started off really strong. I do. I think it did your typical thing. I mean, okay. So let me also start out by saying that I don't play the game, so I definitely heard that a lot of people were like, "Hey, this game. I mean, this anime or whatever you want to call it, this show really follows the game. It's very true." Da, da, da. That's what I heard. Okay, am I right? Is that what
Right.
people were saying?
Yeah.
Okay. And so kudos to that. It also got high marks on, all the stuff like Rotten Tomatoes and all those other things, right? They're like, yeah, it's really good. It's really interesting, blah, blah. Okay. Now, I personally felt like it started off strong. It had your typical character, your typical main character who, you know, has this rusty drunken side. This is so common. It happens in so many shows. It's like what's his face in Cowboy Bebop? Like,
Right.
oh, I'm gonna pretend like nothing. I don't care about anything, but I'm also gonna be really good at fighting. Type thing. That's really common main character stuff. And
Yes.
then main character meets girl who's obvious, who didn't know he was going to meet girl, also thought girl was boy at some point, and then ended up being girl. And then it's like, whoa, double whammy. Hey, you're cute. And, who happens to be, pretty and whatnot and awesome. And then it becomes a trio because you meet a vampire. Yay! Like it starts off really strong. Okay. I was so happy. I was like, yes, finally Alucard, because I just like Alucard. I mean, I was a Helsing fan. I'm not talking about Van Helsing the movie because I never saw that. I'm talking about Helsing, like
Right.
Helsing, Sir Integra, because I just want to be here sometimes. Anyway, I'm like, yes, I was like, I'm sitting there like yelling at what's her face on the TV. I was like, girl, can you stop waiting for Jesus? That is a vampire's coffin. That's Alucard. I'm like yelling at the screen for no reason. But that's not the point. That's not where I'm going here. Where I'm going is season one had all of the elements of a decent show, like of a catchy show. Even though there were times where I was like, huh? But it was fine. It had your protagonists, it had an enemy, it had drama, it had its twists, it had connivingness, it had, I don't know if that's a word. It had treachery and
Yes.
sabotage and all of those things, and a moving castle. It had everything. It even had a treasure trove where you go to learn information. And then, of course, said treasure trove is going to be attacked at some point. Like, it gave you the normal elements. Like, it was also very predictable. and I didn't play the game, but it was very predictable. The cool part was just about, hey, they're going to probably come and attack you at some point. But oh, by the way, when they attack you, you're also going to bring the castle. Oh, that's cool. My point in all of this is that season one was well rounded. It had everything it needed to be. It had a villain, and then they defeated said villain, and boom,
Well, no, they
right?
didn't. They didn't defeat him. Well, they defeated him in his second season.
Oh, okay. My bad. You know what? The first one is so short. It's only 4 episodes.
Right, right. Yeah, so
Okay.
it blends into the second one very well.
Yes. So I'm sorry, people. Season one and two is literally just season one. There's not 4 seasons, there's three because season one and
Right.
season two should literally just be one season. So let me take that back. But yes, season one and season two, it's like your story is completed. Like you've done what you set out to accomplish, right? And I think that that's great. And then it just kind of goes left from there. And I guess what really gets to me is that Alucard, of all people, okay, is your trump card. He is this thing that you were looking for that was awesome. Alucard has a magic sword. I mean, come on. And he has long blonde hair and all these things. And, is a vampire, kind of. He's Alucard. Okay? Then why do you spend a whole season, whole season of him frolicking in the woods with literally some weirdos? I just so many issues with what went down. I have so many issues, not even because of what actually ended up happening with the twins. My issue was more of literally this trio, which honestly, if something like that had happened to me, we would be besties, like the three of us, right? And then
Yeah.
the two of them are like, well, we're gonna go off and start our lives together and leave you alone at, in knowing good, like he's depressed. And they just left. I am sorry if I am spoiling this for you guys, but I just don't understand. We had a whole conversation about being there, being supportive for your friends when we were talking about Insecure.
Yeah.
Y'all just helped this man murder his father, and you just said, well, that's about it for us. See you around. Catch you on the whatever on the flip side. The man literally out of his own mouth said, and this house shall be my grave. And they're like, no, it should be your home. You have everything here now. You have a treasure trove of my family stuff and a treasure trove of your father's shit. Like, you're going to have such a full life alone here reading books. And then left so they could go basically have sex in a wagon. That's what just happened. That's what happened.
Well, that's not
And
exactly what happened. They because Trevor is a monster hunter, so he has to go hunt monsters.
I
Um,
know.
but yeah, it was kind of like you don't want to keep the band together. At least, how about this? You give me your number, I'll give you my number, and then at the very least, I could call you. That's not a thing. They don't
Right.
have phones. I'm just saying, like none of that went down. It was kind of like, and we're out. Granted,
And we're out.
Trevor and Alucard had a little bit of rivalry there, in terms of their professions. So I kind of understand that too. But yeah, season three kind of does this weird trippy thing, and it's like there's certain aspects of season three that work because they're focused on the game elements or like things that happen in the game. So like with
Uh-huh.
Hector and the other guy who like they're able to raise the dead,
Mm-hmm.
and whatnot, and the things that happen because eventually in the game Dracula is brought back to life, which is kind of like what they're doing or they're trying to do in season four. So because
Right.
I knew where the things were going, I think I had a better appreciation of what felt like filler. Like I'm like, okay, I see the edges, but at the same time, I was like, why are we doing this? Like, okay,
Right.
these people need to have a really good whatever. Like you're gonna push them off into season four, and it's gonna be great. not realizing that, some of these people didn't make it to the next season. And I'm like, what was the point of that? So
Yep.
I was weary of season 4, but it started off well. We kind of jumped into more of what the first season had in terms of combat, in terms of we're going to get right to it, you know? And then, well, at least from where I'm at, I'm pretty good until, what's his face came back in the must sacrifice episode was a little, we're
Mhm.
going left again. Like, why do we have to do these things? Um, and I'm hoping that it kind of builds from there. But you were telling me off air that apparently season 4 doesn't end very well. And so I'm kind of like, crap.
Not that it doesn't end well. That's not it. It's not
Okay.
that it doesn't end well. It's just the fact that if you like the whole it actually it ends fine. I'm not even it's not actually really the end that bothers me. Yes, it is. I'm sorry. Oh, let me take this back. But again, one thing that I did mention is that I did not play the game. However, the show was very predictable for me. And like, especially hearing you just say, like, you could kind of tell what, what filler, this filler and that. Like, there were things that are in there that are jarring, not because they are jarring, but because they don't fit. And it's like, even if something actually did fit, like a puzzle piece actually fit together, like, oh, well, episode 1 actually makes sense with episode 7, but then it's like episode 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What? Like, and
Yeah.
again, I did not play the game, so not 100% like knowing everything. It's not that it ends differently because from what I heard, it ends right. But 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 from a storytelling point of view, like in something that is supposed to be like flowing like water, like a well written show, it has these moments where you're just sitting there like, wait, wait a minute, why did you do that? Wait, why did you do this again? This is dumb. This is actually dumb. Was this all so you could fight the boss? Oh,
A little too on the nose with the video game stuff apparently.
I think that's what it is. It's just too on the nose because, like, when, especially for me, when I got to the end and I was just like, but why though?
Yeah.
I'm like, but why though? Again, and then sitting here like, there's this whole part. Well, I was collecting this stuff because I just knew what it was. Oh, so you were collecting things and didn't tell anybody? You didn't even tell us. Like, we saw you do it. We saw you do it. And anybody who played the game probably knew exactly what you were doing. But still, it was just kind of like, so did you just need a big moment? And then as you're getting to the end and there's, some big stuff that's supposed to happen, you kind of sit there and say, why did you even tell him? Like, if you have bad plans, if you have bad things to do, why don't you just do the bad things? Why even tell the, like,
It's
I
to
mean,
create
it's
more
fine.
drama. It's yeah. I I
It,
haven't seen it. I can't so I
yeah,
can't say, but like it's because we've seen that in other shows.
yes, yes.
It's similar to like the person who's like, you witness a crime with your friend and you're like, you know what, I can't stand by anymore, so I'm gonna tell the police. And then you turn around as if he's not gonna shoot you in the back of the head. Like it doesn't make sense.
Seriously.
I would be
Yeah,
quiet if I was actually gonna go tell somebody. I wouldn't tell you I'm doing it, especially after you saw him just whack someone. Like,
right.
why would you think that's okay? And, yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, yeah, interesting stuff. I
Just,
hope
yeah.
I'm looking forward to. I'm gonna be finishing that up this week. I'm gonna be
Hmm.
watching the new zombie movie that's coming out. Uh, dang, the Zack Snyder zombie film that's coming out. I've heard
Hmm.
mixed results from it. It's coming out on Netflix. It was supposed to, I want to think it was supposed to go to the movies. I'm not sure, or to go to the theater. I'm also looking into going to the theater in a safe capacity because I don't trust people. But I kind of want to go. I just, it's been almost 2 years since I've gone to the theater, and for me, for people who know me, that's a big deal because I used to go almost every week. Uh,
Mm.
I just like it a lot. It's a hobby, and I haven't gone in almost 2 years. So I'm trying to see how that could work after I get my second shot. But I'm definitely
Right,
looking
right.
forward to that. So essentially, there's a lot of good things that I'm looking forward to. A lot of shows uh, coming about, which is great for us because it gives us a lot to talk about. Um, with that being said, yeah, that is it for this week's
Mhm.
episode. Thank you for hanging out with us. Thank you for chilling, laughing, and hopefully being entertained. Feel free to follow us all over the place, whether it's on Twitter at the Gamecast1 or on if you're watching this on YouTube, feel free to subscribe and hit that
Mhm.
notification bell so you're up on all the new content. We're at United Front Gaming there. Um, and you can find the Gamecast on Spotify, Deezer, Stitcher, Amazon, Google. There's a bunch. It's too many links. I've been trying to figure out
Wow.
a way to do it because, Twitter is limited with their how many links or how many characters you have. So I'm trying
Mm,
to figure out a way to like finagle as many links because some people like Spotify versus Apple, and whatnot. So wherever you want to
true.
listen, though, we are potentially there wherever you want to be.
Okay.
I will say that iTunes or the Apple platform is a little behind everyone else. Like as soon as I add it to
Mhm.
Audio Boom, it's almost immediate. Whereas Apple, it usually takes like an hour. So if you're
Mhm.
listening on Apple, just typically it's a little hour after we post it, then the show will go up. You could definitely peek it at other places though. So definitely check that out. And again, follow us on Twitter. We have a lot going on. We have a lot going on, and we kind of want you to be involved, or at the very least to
Yeah.
listen, right? So feel free to do so. I see that Tess is being more active on Twitter now, so definitely go follow
I
her
don't know
there.
why. Don't
Um,
follow me.
it's good because you pick and choose really well. So, it's not to the point of being all consuming and you're not that approachable, but at the same time, you're like, I'll give you a comment. Why not? I'll say
Mhm.
some, you know what I'm saying? So,
Mhm.
definitely I have all of the, those links and such below here. You can't see me pointing because we don't have video, but I'm pointing
Yeah.
down in the description area.
He's
Okay.
pointing.
Uh, other than that, I think that is it for housekeeping.
Yeah, that's it, y'all. Thanks for being with us for another night. That's all I got to say. So just remember to do the same thing I tell you to do every week, which is, wash your faces, wash your butts, wash your hands, use that sanitizer. And okay, look, we know that the CDC is saying some major BS right now about this whole mask thing. Clearly,
Facts.
do you, but this is straight up BS. And the only reason why I'm getting hype right now at the end of our show is because I literally say the same thing every week about wearing your mask, washing your hands, washing your faces and your asses. Like, it is really important right now to understand that people can still transmit this virus whether you are actually vaccinated or not. It's still transmittable. It's just transmissible. It just means that you won't get sick, or you won't get as sick, or you won't end up
Right.
hospitalized, that kind of stuff. Okay. This vaccine was supposed to help us diminish the intensity of the virus and lessen as many people who were getting it, basically making this virus more livable. It was almost something to make us be able to live with it, kind of like
Right.
turning it into a common cold. Don't mean to be preaching or anything right now, but what I am saying is that the CDC is on some major BS because they're saying, oh, no masks for people who are fully vaccinated, but they're not giving anybody any freedom or rights into anybody's personal information, which they shouldn't be. But it doesn't make any sense because to sit there and say, oh, fully vaccinated people don't have to wear masks anymore. Well, we have no way of knowing who's vaccinated and who's not. So we can't make that decision. If I own a business, I can't just be like, well, I don't know if you're vaccinated. If you tell me you're vaccinated, I have to take your word for it. And that's BS because I know so many people right now who are not vaccinated and who will straight up lie if it lets them get on a plane.
Well, I mean, not
So,
even that. Like the fact that
mhm,
they tell you if you go to the CDC page where they talk about the mask thing,
mhm,
right below that they say, hey, if you're around someone who has COVID and you get symptoms, to quarantine yourself. They say if you're around someone who has COVID, or then they say get tested. If you're around someone who has COVID and you don't have symptoms, not to get tested. But if you are asymptomatic, you can still pass it. And they actually say that below that. So, like,
exactly.
essentially, they tell you, hey, you don't have to wear a mask, and then tell you all the reasons why you should wear a mask on the same
Right.
damn page. Like it's
This is
silly.
stupid.
It's really
It's so
silly.
dumb.
It's almost
So
like someone is pressuring the CDC to make these comments. And so
mhm.
to make sure that they're in the clear, below those comments, they're like, also, just so you know what I'm saying? You might want to still rock the mask. It's kind of like what they're doing. I'm
Right.
just gonna let you know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's goofy. But
Yeah,
anywho,
it's goofy. But anyway, I that's the one thing that I really needed to say about that. So yeah, sorry for getting back and see, like being like, oh, this show's about to end, but then I had to tell you that one last thing. But I will tell you one last thing. Y'all need to watch Grey's Anatomy because Jackson is leaving. And that's pretty much it. So we love you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Hashtag love you, Jackson Avery. You guys have a great night. We will see you next week. Be good, be safe, don't be a dick, and bye bye.